Previous ones, welcome back to the channel for a very special Ultra Pro Wrestling video as we are following up on our very popular 100 plus facts that you didn't know about Ultra Pro Wrestling. Today we are covering over 187 more facts that you didn't know about Ultra Pro Wrestling. But before we get into that, make sure you smash the like button and hit that subscribe button, as this video was painstaking to make and took me many hours to put together for you, the good folks, those who are passionate about this upcoming gem in Ultra Pro Wrestling. Now make sure you stay tuned to the end of the video, as I will have a bonus, same as last time, from my interview with the lead developer, Sam Vallely, at the end of this video. Throwing a little bonus for you guys at the end there, so make sure you tune in for that. And without further ado, let's take a look-see here. So, first off, I want to premise, as I always leave all of Ultra Pro Wrestling's socials down in the description down below, because this video is going to be going over so many facts, and I want to leave timestamps for all of you guys to refer back to in the description. There's only so much space you have in the descriptions of the videos, so I'm going to be leaving a pinned comment on this video with all the socials for everybody that has anything to do with Ultra Pro Wrestling, as opposed to in the description like I normally do it, just so I can fit in all of the timestamps for you guys. Now, let's get right into the good stuff. Question 101. Will there be a ladder steel cage match? Not currently planning on it. Will there be an 8-sided cage for an MMA style ring? No. That has been copyrighted, so we will have to choose a different shape. You cannot have an octagon because the shape of the octagon is copyrighted by the UFC. This goes for name-branded match types as well. We will have to see what we can make and how to avoid legal issues while also staying true to the way the match plays out. Now, will there be custom-sized cage matches, or cages with tops on them, like War Games, Blood and Guts, Hell in a Cell, or just some sort of a roof on a cage? Will we be getting a Hell in a Cell? Will we get Blood and Guts? Will we be getting War Games in Ultra Pro Wrestling? The answer is not on the initial release, but we do intend to have more cage setups than the initial cage match. So I want to elaborate that on that a little bit, because I know we're getting a lot more new match types once we get, like, say, the 90s DLC and the 2000s DLC, which will be free DLC, by the way. These match types will be added into the game for free, as well as the 90s storyline and the 2000s storyline. These will be added into the game down the line for free. They won't be there at launch for you, but they will be adding this down the line. And as they add, say, the 90s DLC, well, then they might introduce a promotion like FMW and ECW. So you'll get your more hardcore and your deathmatch style matches. You're going to get the barbed wire matches. You're going to get all that kind of stuff. Same thing in the 90s. That's when I would see them releasing, say, the Hell in a Cell. So you'll play through part of the campaign, and then eventually you'll probably have a Hell in a Cell match, and that's how you would unlock the Hell in a Cell. Now, I am not 100% certain that they will put a Hell in a Cell or a roofed cage match in this game, but I'm like 95% on that. So I know that they know those matches are very popular. People are going to want them, so make sure you make your voices heard to them that you want those match types in the game. But once we get that 90s DLC and those 2000s DLCs, I see us getting matches, not just like a Hell in a Cell or a War Games, but I also see us getting stuff like an Elimination Chamber, for example, maybe in the 2000s DLC. I could see something like that. Again, that I'm way less certain about, but for a match like a Hell in a Cell or a War Games or Blood and Guts, roofs on the cage, stuff like that, that's something that fans want. We've had it in wrestling games for so long. I definitely see those coming, so I wanted to leave that for you there. Now, will there be new cage mechanics and moves? We do want to evolve the controls of the cage match and give more options than just the grab, drag, head smash that existed in No Mercy. Def Jam had moves where you could drag your opponent, to the rope and do rope-based grapples. So we would like to do the same, but give cage options like a catapult or a face grind. So they would like to add a few more cage-specific mechanics into the game. Question 105. Will there be barbed wire rope matches? And again, I just touched on that. Shot myself in the foot there a little ahead of this question, but not on the first release, but eventually. Again, with that 90s DLC. Will there be other gimmick matches, i.e. coal miner glove match, a strap match, flagpole match, on a pole match, Judy Bagwell on a, on a forklift match, those kinds of things. We will have to wait and see how much can be implemented and what the resulting match will feel like. Not all gimmicks have the longevity and replayability to make it worth adding. So that is a very fair point. I think that not all matches, like when you guys have been playing WWE 2K games, have you really been playing the casket match all the time? Have you been playing, a lot of the matches they add in quite often. So I can understand the risk-reward kind of thing there for development time, why they wouldn't want to have every single kind of match type you can have. Like a coal miner glove match, strap match. I don't know how often I play those. Maybe a strap match, maybe a flagpole match, but I understand the reasoning behind that. Now, question 107. How many wrestlers can be in the ring at one time? This is very important for you guys to know because I get this question all the time. How many wrestlers in the ring at one time? The goal is to have 10 characters at one time. So hopefully we are able to get that 5 versus 5 10-man tag match like we had at the Calgary Stampede or the Canadian Stampede pay-per-view way back before Bret Hart beat The Undertaker for the world title at SummerSlam. We had that 10-man tag in the pay-per-view ahead of that, and it was awesome. And yeah, I would like to see that recreated, hopefully in the 90s campaign, in the story. Here's to hoping. Now, 108. Can you limit that if you don't want too many people in the ring at one time? Sorry, so can you limit that if you don't want to have 10 wrestlers in the ring at one time? And they said we may have that as an option for Rumbles. So if you have a Royal Rumble, they may have the option to have less than 10 characters in the ring at all times or at a time. I don't really care personally, more characters. It can get a little cluttered, sure. I guess that would be good for Rumbles if you don't want too many characters in there, if you want to limit it to like 8 or 6 or something. But I think it's cool that we get 10 wrestlers in the ring. Not many modern wrestling games are allowing you that much freedom, right? And at least not at this level of a wrestling game that's going to have this much in it. So I'm really excited for that. How many will be allowed on couch co-op simultaneously? Okay, so right now you will have 4 players. Couch co-op will be the max for couch co-op on one platform. So if you're playing on Xbox, the Nintendo Switch, PS4, PS5, you'll only be able to play with 4 players co-op on Steam, all that at a time. But you will have online as well, so you will be able to have hopefully more than that when you're playing online. Question number 110. Will 4v4 be ready for the initial release? 4v4 is a launch goal. I mean, if they're aiming for 10 wrestlers at a time, I hope 5v5 is in there too. I'd like to see that 10-man tag. We'll have to see, again, at launch. If 4v4 is fine. If we can only get 8 wrestlers in the ring, I'm not going to cry about it. I would love to see the 10 if they can get it in there, though, because that would be phenomenal to me. Again, it's going to come down to the Switch and the Switch capabilities. If it makes the game run like crap on the Switch, maybe the Switch will have limitations where it can only have 8 men. But I feel like whatever limitations the Switch gives us, it may cross over into the rest of the versions just for cross-play's sake so that the game is the same across all platforms. I don't know for sure. That's just hypothesizing over here. Just my predictions. But number 111, will there be stable/faction entrances and how many to a stable? We will have stable entrances. Excellent. Glad to hear that. Right now, the plan is to cap the stable entrance at 4 people, but we will try to get a full 5, but the faction itself doesn't have a current limit. Okay, great. So you can have as many people as you want in a faction, but for the stable entrance, like if you're having an NWO entrance, my apologies for if you could hear the sirens in the background there. But we will have stable entrances. So having right now, if the plan is to cap the stable entrances of 4 people, I can appreciate that. But if you do have an NWO gimmick or a big faction gimmick, the Elite or something else like that, and if they are able to get to 5 in an entrance, I think that'd be fantastic. But I'd be happy with 4, happier with 5, obviously. And now, will tag teams be stronger together? We haven't fleshed out what will happen in a match. We haven't fleshed out what would happen in a match, but we would like the idea of establishing a stable. And if you are in a tag team together, you get some small stuff. But we have to test out the fairness of such a mechanic. Fair enough? Will tag team moves be automatic? We want to avoid automatic / cutscenes, so executing a tag team move would take both players to understand specific setup in order to execute a move. Think AKI style Doomsday Device or 3D, and less SmackDown's grapple in a corner and all the movements play out automatically. So not like the WWE 2K games where you throw them in the corner and you get the 3D. I don't know how much I love that. It really depends on how smart their AI is, because I would like to have my computer, if I'm in a tag team, do the tag team moves with me when I'm trying to do them. So I hope it's fairly easy to implement, because that was one thing I didn't necessarily love about the Aki games, was the limited tag team moves and how hard it could be to do them sometimes. But we'll see. We'll see how it plays out, and I'm sure they can always make tweaks later on down the line if there's a fan outcry for it. Number 114, will tag teams recognize and help each other in battle royals? That is a fantastic question. We would like to implement the CPU to understand factions in free-for-all match scenarios. Okay, so that is a goal of theirs, which is fantastic. I'm happy to hear it. 115, will there be camera operators, announcers, other side characters? It will have to be tested first, but it would definitely add to the realism depending on how well the game will be running. With a maximum amount of entities will dictate how other characters can be implemented. Let's read that one more time. Depending on how well the game will be running, with a maximum amount of entities will dictate how other characters can be implemented. Okay, so what they're saying is after you get the 10 people max in the ring and say a referee, how's the game running? Will they be able to add side characters like a ring announcer, camera operator, stuff like that? I gotcha. Okay, so the most important thing is getting the 10 wrestlers in there, get that running smoothly, and then from there you can go on to adding, managers or other stuff on top of that. I gotcha. That makes sense. 116, can we enter the crowd in a match? Yes, that is a goal of ours. It will stay on the floor and only a few areas where the crowd doesn't have to move around. We also want an exit within the crowd to bring you to a different backstage location than if you go through the stage. That is really freaking cool, that if you go through the crowd and enter backstage, you'll enter into a different spot than you would if you Irish whip them into it the No Mercy way. So that's really cool. Can you destroy the ring? It would be cool to replicate, but no. That rare spot is not something that happened in the 80s, and if the mechanic is too easy to repeat, it will take away from the rest of the game. We also want to avoid anything that looks too much like a cutscene moment. That makes sense. They are trying to stay away from that, so that makes sense to me. We would be more interested in something like landing from a high spot and leaving a landing mark, like a dent or crack somewhere on the ground or ring. If it does get implemented, it won't be in the first version of the game. That is up in the air. So we could maybe see it in a 90s DLC. It could come to us, something like that. That would be okay. I think I'm fine with that. That to me is totally fine. I don't mind that at all. Now, will there be weapons? General weapons will be in the game, but more complex weapon controls and styles of weapons, thumbtacks for example, will be saved for their era of wrestling to be implemented. Okay, so again, with the 90s DLC, you're going to be getting a lot more stuff, a lot more of the hardcore matches, stuff that came out when FMW, ECW, all that stuff, the Attitude Era started. So general weapons will be in the game, but more complex stuff. So if you want light tubes and stuff like that, probably not going to be in there at launch. Okay, That's fair enough. 119, where will weapons be located? We would like the weapons to be under the ring and in the crowd, depending on where it makes sense for them to exist. So most likely, steel chairs would be the primary weapon you get from the crowd. That's cool. I'm glad they're thinking about that stuff. To me, I'd like to see it where you can get weapons from the game or from the ring, like underneath the ring. But I'm glad you can also get them from the crowd because that's how you got them in the old Aki game. So I'm happy that we will have both there. And I like that they're thinking about what weapons should come from where as well. Like if you wanted a table, probably going to get that from under the ring. That makes sense. I like that they're thinking about that. 120. Will weapons disappear? No, we don't want the weapons to fade away. Aki had a system that limited the amount of weapons where once you had a certain number, you couldn't pull out new ones until you returned one or two to the crowd. That's hilarious. I forgot that was a thing. As for broken weapons, we would also like them to stay in the ring but become unusable, so a broken table would not fade away after a move breaks it. Okay, that's pretty optimistic, and I wonder how that would affect things when you have that maximum number of people in the ring and you start overloading the weapons and stuff. That's going to be more stuff that they're really going to have to test, is when they have 10 people in a match and you start grabbing plunder and weapons and broken tables and everything. Is that going to start affecting frame rate? Is that going to start breaking down the game? Because that would really probably have to dictate how many weapons you can pull out in a match and stuff like that. 121. Will the crowd hand you weapons like Def Jam? It will be too much of a challenge for the initial release. So not a hard no, but not at the initial release. Will there be a different cell animation for moves done on weapons on the floor? How about damage levels? This is a very interesting question. There was definitely a sound for moves on weapons in the original Aki games. We may look into different cell reactions for certain moves depending on the move themselves. Damage levels may only be slightly higher if at all. Okay, I'd like to see a little bit more damage when you do moves on weapons, but as long as there's like a cell animation, like I would like to see really the cell reactions to doing stuff on weapons, and I especially want to be able to have like chairs set up so that if you were to like jump over them or like jump, like, you know, so that you can jump off of them and stuff for like a triple jump moonsault, like Sabu's offense kind of stuff, where you can use set up the chair to do stuff off of it, but also to do moves through it as well. So if you were to do like a brain buster through a chair that was set up, then the chair will break, and you'll have like a crazy cell animation for that. I definitely want to see that stuff in the game. So I really hope they really focus a lot on weapon damage and weapon cells and stuff like that. Whether it has different damage levels, I can understand that might be too complicated or a bit much to put in, but I would definitely like to see at least the selling to be there. Will there be weapon-based grapple moves and weapon submissions? How about diving weapon attacks? Okay, we want to definitely expand how weapons are implemented in combat, but it has to match the Aki style so that we have to really plan this out to feel right. We will look into options for weapons being used in submissions. A goal will be Van Daminators and Van Terminators. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Sam. I've been wanting a proper Van Terminator with a chair in a wrestling game for over 25 years. Please get us that. That would be amazing. 24 years, I should say, I guess. Can't remember when he did the first Van Terminator. I think it was 99. So about 25 years anyways. Coming up on 25 anyways. Will weapons be arrangeable in corners and other setups? Yes, we definitely want weapons to be deliberately placed. Perfect. Ladders can be in the corner. Chairs can be set up like a chair would be, etc. Oh, I love hearing that. Ideally, we want you to be able to jump onto a standing chair, jump to the ropes, then jump outside the ring like Sabu. They answered the question for me, you guys. Thank you. Yes. I'm going to repeat that because this is what I care about so much. Ideally, we want you to be able to jump onto a standing chair, jump to the ropes, then jump outside the ring like Sabu. Yes, this is what I've been wanting in wrestling games forever. Please make it a thing. Question 125, and I already answered this earlier, but will there be light tubes? Maybe in later years of the story, they will appear, but not at launch. Not just yet. Question 126. Will there be any new ladder mechanics to look forward to? We will be looking into the best Aki-like ways to improve ladder mechanics. Every ladder match shows new ways to use and arrange ladders, but if they don't feel like they fit in the game, they probably won't make it. Fair enough. Will there be fire? If it can look good. All right, I like that answer. Will there be blood? Yes. The visuals of bleeding are still being worked out. The mechanics of the blood should still resemble the Aki style of the game, including how prone your character is to bleeding. It will not be overly gory, so it will probably just stay on the head and the chest. We will look into differences from something like barbed wire, but not yet, so not at release. We're not going to get that crazy blood that you have in probably in Fight Forever and stuff like that at launch. You're just going to get more of the Aki style at launch. So that's fair. 129, will blood stain the map? We want it to, and we will see if there's issues in the future that will cause us to change the mechanic, but we want the blood to stay on the mat. They keep calling it map, not mat. It's a mat, and not disappear over time. Question 130, will there be visible physical damage to the wrestler like bruises? Bruises don't really show in wrestling. We will try to have face paint fade over time. That's very cool. But we would be open to hearing arguments for adding bruising. Okay, so they're not sold on it, but you guys, if you want to see bruising show up in a match, like, for chops and stuff on the chest and stuff like that, reach out to them and let them know via Twitter, via Discord. Obviously leave your comments in the comments section down below. Let me know. Question 131. Will face paint change over the course of the match? Well, they just answered it in the last question. Yes, that is something we have been asked about a lot, actually. So we will be getting face paint degradation in the game, which I think they had in, like, Revenge even. Like, I remember you could pull off masks off wrestlers and stuff in, like, World Tour and I think Revenge as well. And I don't know if face paint degradation was a thing. I actually don't think it was. I think I'm thinking of the mask stuff. But it's cool that we are going to be getting it. Question 132, will there be a limb health meter in the game? The opponent will sell limb damage, but we probably won't have a meter to show body damage levels. Okay, fair enough. Will an opponent sell more than one injury at a time? Example, like hold the head and limp it, like holding his head and limping at the same time. In a real match, it's rare for someone to sell more than one body part, but this is a game. We will try to do something with more than one body part injury, like a limp and holding your head or arm at the same time. So they are going to try and do that. So if you're like busting up their head and their ankle or their leg or something, they'll try and sell both at the same time. That would be really cool, especially if you do stuff to the legs, if it affects their mobility and how fast they can kind of move around. That would be cool too. Will opponents appear more fatigued or exhausted? This is basically touching on that exact same thing. Will opponents appear more fatigued or exhausted as the match goes on with heavy breathing? We would like to add this to the animations for characters. We will also look into slowing down characters that have gotten tired in long matches. Okay, so that's really, really cool. Will fatigue or limb damage affect your damage output? This is a hard choice because it is a big gameplay change. We may have a community conversation about this when the time comes, because it definitely makes sense from a wrestling standpoint. To implement it in the game would be a big task, and it may change fundamentals of the game. Okay, so limb damage effect and fatigue or limb damage affecting your damage output would definitely change the fundamentals of the game. So yeah, I can understand why that would be really difficult from a development perspective. Question 136, will moves do more damage when done to the outside of the ring? There may be a slight damage increase for moves done on the floor versus the apron. That hasn't been tested, so we haven't made a decision just yet. 137, will there be end of match highlight reels? Yes, the end of match should show a few highlights from the match, big crowd reaction moments. We also want to be able to capture the whole match, so when the match ends, you can scrub forward and backwards and switch camera angles that can be used for your character's promo video. I'm guessing like your entrance video. That is really freaking cool. I like that. That's awesome. 138. Will characters have a number rating system to show how powerful they are? No. Anyone should be able to have a proper match with anyone else. You shouldn't worry about being a level 52 going against a level 98. So we're not going to have a 2K style rating system. Cool. So I don't have to level up my wrestlers through the campaign? Fight forever. No, your wrestler, whether in the campaign or exhibition, will be the same and not need to level up to be competitive. Alright, so you're not going to have to go through the campaign like in Fight Forever to get all your attributes and stats and everything. That was probably one of the biggest complaints early on when Fight Forever came out for the online play, was that if you had a created wrestler like I did, who you went through meticulously grinding through to get the most stat points and abilities possible, you had an edge on players who didn't do that. You could have the best abilities. So I'm glad they're staying away from that, because that eventually did ruin the online experience for Fight Forever really quickly, and that was one of the things that I considered the death of Fight Forever, especially on the online aspects. That one of many factors, but one factor for sure. 140. Question 140, will my character's win-loss record appear under their name for their entrance? Entrance graphics haven't been planned out yet, but we may have that for online matches. It is also something that would be more for the MMA-style promotions than the 80s wrestling. Okay, that makes sense. So for like an MMA, if you're making like a UFC or a Bellator or a Pride or a whatever kind of MMA-style organization, I would make more sense to have the win-loss record there. But in the 80s, that wasn't really a thing. If you get to the point of you get in the 2000s, the 2010s, finally the 2020s of the wrestling career, if it gets that far, I could see them maybe implementing it then for like a AEW-style promotion. But yeah, it's more so an MMA or a boxing style. They would really have a win-loss record, so that makes sense, and I'm glad they addressed that. 141. If my character is a champion, will they come out with their belt? What if they hold multiple belts? I know everybody is always curious about this. Very important question. Yes, the champion should come out with the belt in their entrance. As for multiple titles, 3 makes sense as the most they can handle at once. 1 around the waist and 1 on each arm or hand. If we can find a good look and entrance for more than 3 belts, we will add that in. I thought Fight Forever, that was one thing they actually did well when they had the 5 belts or whatever it was. I thought it looked pretty good. I thought they did a good job of that, so I think they could make it work. But if it's limited to 3, I'm not mad at it. That's totally fine. I would like to see them have multiple different entrances for having multi-title entrances too. That would also be very cool. Will my character take their belt over to other promotions? There may be a storyline for that, but not a regular occurrence. Okay, so maybe in the campaign that might be a thing that we get. I could definitely see that in the later campaigns, maybe some part of the 90s or 2000s or later on. Like, you know, when we got Kenny Omega with the belt collector going to the different organizations, I could see that. That would be cool. I remember the Ultimo Dragon having like 7 different belts coming into WCW. I thought that was cool. Dan Severn coming out with like all the different belts around him in WWE. So I could see a point in the 90s career where they could implement that. Is there 3 stages of Hell match where 2 out of 3 falls? Is there a 3 stages of Hell match where 2 out of 3 fall? It says where 2 out of 3 falls. I think they mean or 2 out of 3 falls, where each fall is a different match type. So 3 stages of Hell match that has 2 out of 3 falls, where each fall is a different match type. We like that idea, but we haven't tried to implement it yet. We want the menu system to be condensed with lots of different options. Okay. It would be cool. I would like to see a 2 out of 3 falls match where 1 fall is maybe a submission match. The next fall maybe is a first blood match, and if it goes to a 3rd match, it's a ladder match or a cage match or something like that. I think that would be cool to implement if they were able to put that in at some point. You know, be able to go from like a ladder to a Hell in a Cell to, you know, falls count anywhere, or like a last man standing or something. I think all those things would be cool, but I can understand how it'd be really difficult to implement, especially if you're bringing like a cage into all that. I could understand how that could be a difficult coding-wise. Question 144, will there be a referee? Can they be knocked out? And will a second ref come to replacement? So we're getting another multi-questions in one here. When the one-on-one demo is ready, it will likely not have a physical referee present in the ring. We would like a physical referee character, at least for the basic exhibition matches. I mean, you can see it right here, right? Like you can see in the pre-alpha footage, there's no referee. There's probably going to be one. You know, we're going to get one at launch, but the demo's probably going to look very similar to what you're seeing on the screen right now. In my opinion, this is what I think it's going to look similar to this. But yeah, they would like a physical referee character, at least for basic exhibition matches, and maybe some gimmick matches, but for larger multi-man, but not for larger multi-man matches. So you're not going to get a ref in those 10-man tags or 4 on like those 8-man tag matches. We want refs to be knocked down, distracted, cause disqualifications by grabbing them. Having a replacement referee come out might ruin the opportunity to set up, might ruin the opportunity that you've just set up by doing a ref bump. So right now, that isn't the plan. But they are planning on refs, but again, not for the bigger multi-man matches. Question 145, what happens if, that was 144, right? Yeah, okay. So 145, what happens if more than one person pins at once? Hopefully we can get the referee to do a double count if he sees both, or only count the one he is looking at. Okay, that's an interesting idea. 146, will there still be managers and their ability to stay at ringside, or even have even more functionality? Yes, we will have managers at ringside. The manager will have more options to affect the match where there is a physical referee, like distractions to prevent disqualifications or pins. To balance things, we would like to give the referee the ability to throw out a manager that has interfered too often. I love this. This would be amazing. Definitely implement this. That sounds super, super awesome. 147, can we pretend to be hit by a chair and trick the referee into a disqualification? It would be fun, but it is unlikely. So we're not likely getting that Eddie Guerrero spot. Especially for championship matches, it would be a cheap win. Okay, especially with the implement of Ultra Pro Wrestling Monday Blast, which we're going to get into in the later questions, but I could definitely see how they do not want that mechanic in there, as cool as it might be for CPU matches, or playing against a CPU. Will stages have interactable elements? That's a very interesting question, and I hope so. So let's see here. We would like to have sections of the stage where a player can interact realistically. We'll also have spots to throw someone off the stage, but the reactions and interactions have not been fleshed out. So again, ECW, Bam Bam Bigelow and Taz going through the stage. I want to see it. I want super heavyweights to be able to be taken through or put someone else through the stage. That would be super cool, getting that ECW stage. Even if it comes in the 90s DLC when ECW comes, I want that spot to be possible with certain stages. That would be so cool. Like a Hell in a Cell, when you break the roof, you do enough moves on the spot of the ramp and you put them through it. That would be awesome. And then you could fall into it, like like in the Ninja Turtles game, when the manhole would be open and they follow into it, and they're like, oh, you could do some sort of fun animation like that if someone trips into it. I think that'd be fun. But I would definitely like to see a stage that you can break through and you can smash someone through. I really hope we get that, even if it doesn't come till later on down the line. Will there be high spots to fall off of, and will they be more impactful when you fall from them? We are still building out the backstage, but right now the highest point is Hell in a Cell height. But that is a mechanic we haven't been able to code out to be different yet. Aki games were pretty much the same no matter where you fell, so we would like to do something different there. So they are obviously here, you can see, thinking about a Hell in a Cell already, which we're not going to be getting at launch, but they're saying they're building out the backstage, but right now the highest point is a Hell in a Cell height, so if they're referencing that, That tells me that is coming to the game. But the mechanic, we haven't been able to code it out to be different yet, so that there's more damage done when they're thrown off that kind of a high stage or something. But that is interesting to know. I would like to see, a cool cell when they're thrown off something really high, obviously, like a really damaging cell, where it might put them into the knocked out stage, where they try and get up, like in that TKO state. I think that would be really cool. Question 150. My goodness, chat. We're at 150 facts, obviously combined with the first 100 plus facts that I gave you. We're at number 50 here for this one, 150. Will interference from other wrestlers come from other locations than just the ramp? We would like to see interference come from the crowd and maybe even under the ring. Sting used to descend from the rafters as well, so that showed Aki was willing to have different forms of interference. It would be an option in Create a Wrestler. Okay, so you'll get to pick where you interfere from in the Create a Wrestler. That's awesome. So you'll be able to edit stuff like that. So if you want them coming from the crowd and stuff like that, that's amazing. Question 151. What happens when interfering wrestlers get beaten up enough to leave the ring? What will they do? No Mercy has them remain motionless outside until interacted with. We will have to test out some other options, like them actually leaving the arena afterwards. Okay, so they're not sure if they want to keep it exactly the same as No Mercy had it, where they just don't do anything and they're just outside the ring unless you interact with them. Question 152. Will there be collectibles? We would like to do playing card collectibles, and right now we will have it that if you beat someone, you get their card. Okay, that is really cool. Will there be will the character select have the drawn images or 3D model images? We will have both, where the grid of wrestlers will be drawn images, but on the hover before selecting the model will load when you hover over them. Cool. Will there be an N64 mode with lower graphics quality like the old games? What a weird question, especially with 2K now coming out with those weird N64 models that I think just looks ridiculous and it's so weird. But let's see what UPW has to plan with that. There is an idea to make a completely separate UPW 64 style game where everything is the same but lower polygon count like the old Nintendo games. We would even bring back flat crowds. The hope is that if we get the general game correct, then we can scale the game down and it could even port to mobile. It can even be possible when the game is done that we can take the lower polygon version and port that to a VR setup where you can play the game but see from any angle. That would be a dream come true. So they took that in a direction I definitely didn't think they were going in. But that's really interesting to know that they do have plans to do something like that. Like the VR setup where you can play the game but see it from any angle. Interesting. But then with the weird lesser polygons and stuff, that's such a weird thought to me. But now we are getting into the campaign mode of the game. This being one of the biggest features that a lot of people are most excited for. So question 155, will the campaign be available at launch? The campaign stretch goal didn't actually make it from our Kickstarter campaign. We want to still get it in for the launch of the game, but we want the rest of the game to be ready first. So it may come as a future update instead. So the goal is to get it in for launch, but they have to make sure the rest of the game is polished and ready. So there's a chance we won't have it at launch. My suggestion to you guys, Sam, if you guys are listening and are at this point of the video, and leave your comments down below, everybody. But I would suggest delaying the launch of the game, until that campaign is ready. Finish the game, make sure the game is polished, make sure it is wonderful. But delay the game until we have that single player campaign, because that is one of the biggest features people are looking forward to, that I don't think you should be launching the game without the campaign mode in it. I understand you didn't hit that stretch goal on the Kickstarter, but I would delay the launch of the game because you want to hit the ground running. I would strongly recommend that you make sure that campaign is ready, finished, and as good as it can be for the launch of this game. And don't cut corners anywhere else. just delay the launch. That's my suggestion. Question 156. How does the campaign work? Now this is going to be a much more extensive answer, so stay tuned to the end of the video and I will be going over that for you guys. I will have the timestamps down below for you, but question 156, how does the campaign work? If you want to skip to the timestamp down below, go right ahead, but I will go over that at the end of the video for you because it's going to be a lot more of an extensive answer. Question 157, is this a sandbox mode? Not necessarily at this point. Once you compete a year, you can go back to certain points, but you won't be able to change every single aspect of the story at this time like a sandbox. Will the second time playing through the career mode be different than the first? Yes, it should be very different every time you play it since it is not a linear story. Perfect. Question 159. How far back are you going in the timeline? 80s is the earliest era is the current plan. We want the eras to feel unique and interesting, and we don't think the 70s to 80s update will be enough of a style change. So the 80s is where they're starting from. Question 160, is there a way to speed up the Legacy campaign? Depending on the promotion, they might do shows only once a month, as opposed to once a week with a monthly event. Small promotions can only put so many shows on a year. There would also be injury time off. Longest campaign would be a match every single week and a pay-per-view event over the course of 10 years. So wow, over the course of 10 years, that could be a very lengthy campaign. That's very cool. Question 161, once a week in real time? No, in-game time. Question 162, will there be challenges to complete? And again, this is in this single player campaign. Yes, we would like the backstage to be a hub and minigame to exist there. The games would relate to, and no, don't think about, oh no, not minigames. We don't want the minigames. We had it in Fight Forever. Don't develop time to minigames. But yes, we would like the backstage to be a hub and a minigame to exist there. The games would relate to wrestling lore and what people did backstage, like play poker and arm wrestle. These minigames would change the path of your career by connecting you with different wrestlers in different ways. This will not be mandatory. Very cool that they're adding it, and the fact that it's not going to be mandatory. Awesome. 163. Will there be in-game or pre-rendered cutscenes? The storyline will take place as in-game cutscenes and not pre-rendered videos. Okay. Can there be picture-in-picture style videos of you or your rival cutting a promo? It hasn't come up before in the brainstorming process, but we will keep it in mind. Okay. 165. Will there be contract signings? Not sure if that happened in the 80s. We would need a decent amount of examples as a proper to make it a proper story element. Question 166. Will there be a press conference will there be press conferences in story? Not for the initial implementation of the story process. Not for the initial implementation of the story. Press conferences didn't appear in 80s wrestling. Open to new information changing that decision. These kinds of storyline elements, if they are more relevant to a later era, then they will be pushed off until then. So yeah, I wouldn't likely expect the press conferences be part of the story, like the cutscenes and the stories, until you were probably into the 2010s. You know, maybe 2000s with like the MMA and boxing. Maybe even the 90s if you go MMA and boxing, perhaps. But I would say probably more in like a 2000s or 2010s DLC. Long before, AEW wouldn't come along to the end of the 2010s, right? So, can you form a faction during the career mode? There will be faction opportunities in the story. So it doesn't look like maybe you'll be able to form the faction, but there will be maybe faction opportunities of joining factions, it sounds more like. Question 168. Can your tag team partner be your enemy backstage? Interesting question. Tag teams can develop issues due to backstage politics and fame, which will lead to a breakup storyline. You won't have a long-term tag team you won't have a long-term tag team partner that doesn't get along backstage. We want the backstage story to affect in-ring storylines. Okay, so the backstage story will affect the in-ring storyline, so you're not going to have a negative... You're not going to have a feud with your tag team partner that doesn't lead to a breakup, it sounds like. Question 169. Can titles change appearance over time? That can be done. Excellent. Question 170. Will there be long-term injuries in story, and can that option be turned off if so? We will have to play around with this in-story injury angle. We definitely want it, but probably not as a toggle. So they probably won't allow you to turn it off. Interesting. Can you still arrive to a show while injured or not booked? Yes. You will still be able to be backstage and influence wrestlers and their stories. You can also skip the day entirely. Very cool. Will you be able to keep wrestling if you have a minor injury? We want to incorporate that into story, that if you've been injured in a match, your next match will do some damage on that limb, and if the limb gets worked on again, you have the possibility of getting a full injury that will keep you out of action temporarily. That is so cool. Will promotions have pay-per-view or premium live events geared towards the story? Yes, we are aiming for 4 events a year right now. In the 80s, that makes sense, because we weren't getting 12 pay-per-views a year in the 80s. Could the promotional pay-per-view either be a single type of gimmick match or lead up to one big signature match at the end? Could there be a promotional pay-per-view like a Hell in a Cell, like a Money in the Bank? I get the question, like an Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. Yes, we are trying to recreate some pay-per-view type storylines to all play out in similar fashion to real events. So again, maybe not so much in the 80s. I don't know how many 80s pay-per-views were geared around matches. Well, okay, maybe not. Survivor Series. Survivor Series was definitely, so I could see them having Survivor Series style pay-per-views and stuff in the 80s. That would make sense. Question 175. Can I replay pay-per-view and premium live event moments in the campaign again? After completing the campaign, you will be able to go back and replay full events exactly as they occurred or edit events. Question 176. Can promotions burn out in campaign? We are undecided about that. It depends on how we decided to progress the story. Initially, we did want some to die out if they don't do well. Okay, fair enough. So they're undecided at this point, but it might happen. Question 177. Can you move a promotion? There will be a map after completing the campaign. You'll be able to move a promotion to an available territory. We won't be allowing multiple promotions in a single mapped territory at this time. Oh, so really keeping to that 80s territory style stuff. That's interesting. I like that. Okay. So you're not going to have multiple, maybe, well, I can't say maybe not US territories because maybe there's multiple territories within the US. So that's interesting. I think that's really interesting that they're going to hold that off at this point. How will moving between promotions work? There will be multiple ways to change. It could be from firing, an offer, and maybe we could implement some manager-based options where you and your manager have issues on which promotion you should work for. That would be really interesting. I'd like to see that. When you move to another promotion, can you change your gimmick? Yes, and you may even be forced to in order to join the promotion. Interesting. That's cool. Question 180. Can you bring your title from one promotion to another promotion? Again, remember, this is all within the context of the single-player campaign, the storyline. Yes, but you won't be able to defend it there. If you leave a promotion, though, you leave the belt behind. So if you can bring your title from one promotion to another promotion, but you can't defend it in the other promotion, and if you leave a promotion, you'll leave the belt behind. Okay. Question 181. So I guess we're not... So are we not going to have the Ric Flair come into WWE? I guess that happened in the early 90s. I guess that would have to be a 90s thing, where when the Flair brought over the big gold belt to WWE and had it when he was signed over there, I wonder if that'll be a 90s thing where you can do that. You can bring in the story, you'll be able to bring titles over from other promotions and keep them after you've signed to another promotion. I wonder. Because, yeah, storylines like Medusa throwing away the women's title and stuff like that, That all happened in the 90s, so I could see that being part of the 90s story. Can someone from another promotion come and challenge you for a title at your promotion? Unlikely. More reasonably would be debuting wrestlers from another promotion as opposed to one that still resides in a different promotion at the time of the challenge. So if they came over and challenged you for the title, they would likely be signed to that promotion. That makes some sense. Question 182, will the map be something you can travel? No, the map is just for setting the promotion location. There will be a backstage hub for extras, but not the map. Gotcha. Question 183, how close to real life will the stories be? We would like the stories to be generic prototypes of real-world events without being complete rip-offs. So, a character may have an annual pay-per-view streak, but it may not be otherworldly legend. It may not be the otherworldly legend character. So, if you have an Undertaker streak, it might not necessarily have to be the undead zombie Undertaker character. So that, as an example, they left. We would also like to keep the tone of the stories, whether comedy or serious, with a little self-awareness. Okay. Could there be a referee career mode? We would have to see if there's a lot of interest to justify the time it would take to implement that. So if you're interested in that referee career mode, make sure you make your voices heard to the developers, to Sam and all the developers at Ultra Pro Wrestling, either through their Discord, through Twitter, or whatever, because that's an interesting one. Don't know how interested I'd be to be a special guest referee or a referee in every match. I don't know. It's fun for a match or two, but I think it would get tiresome after a while. 185. Will there be a co-op campaign? You could pick a second controller for tag team matches and managers, but we would need to flesh that out more. Currently, nothing specific is planned for a separate mode, but there will be storylines involving tag teams. A little disappointed by this. I would like to see later on when they release future DLCs for them to maybe look at a specific tag team career mode that's specific to tag teams so that you could go through, and it doesn't have to be locked to the 80s. It could be you go through the 80s and the 90s and even into the 2000s, say like the Legion of Doom or, like just other tag teams like that maybe did stand the test of time. Or if you're going from the 90s to the 2000s to the 2010s and the 2020s, like the Hardys, like the Dudleys, like, teams like that. I just think it would be cool if we had some sort of couch co-op or online co-op campaign where I could do a stream with some of the viewers and I could be playing the single player campaign if I had some guests on the channel for, for a stream or something like that. And we could play through the single or the tag team career mode together. I think that'd be fun. Not a necessity, just something I would maybe like them to look at down the line because I think that would be really cool. 186, will promotions have non-playable characters like owners and commentators? As far as characters that are non-playable, we would like the idea to have those, but more likely they would be playable. It isn't fleshed out quite yet. Will the commentators be at their desk? Will they be interactable? If we are able to get a commentary team at their desk, they probably won't be interactive until after the desk is broken. Then we will see if we can add an interaction or two to them. Interesting. Question 188. Will there be awards for best wrestlers or tag teams in the campaign? We were thinking of a Hall of Fame type moment at the end of an era for your overall career ranking tied to in-game achievements. We would play test it, and if it's doable year to year, but most likely it would just be at the end of an era as opposed to a yearly thing in the career. Okay. Question 189. Will there be adult content in the story? Let's make sure that was 180. Yeah, that is 189. Okay. No, we will push the limits as far as they make sense to in the scenarios of the stories we're telling. It will not be child friendly, but we won't be going over the top either. So you're going to get those Attitude Era story moments, but they're not going to be going over the top with stuff. So there you go. Question 190. Can you take a created character to any promotion to start with? And again, this is we're talking about in the single player campaign. There will be limitations on your choices based on the characteristics of your character as well as your fame. Roster characters will have more options than a new Create a Wrestler. Okay. That's interesting. There will be limitations on your choices based on the characteristics of your character as well as your fame. Roster characters will have more options than a new Create a Wrestler. I mean, I'm okay with that based on the fact that you can completely customize all the in-game characters as it is. So once you've beaten the 80s campaign once, you can fully change the whole like roster out. So you can make them to like your Steve Austins, your Roman Reigns, or whoever you want them to be. So you could make them a Create a Wrestler anyways after you've beaten it once. So I think I'm okay with that than having to take a brand new Create a Wrestler in there. But what about like if you're wanting to take one of the DLC wrestlers through there, you know what I mean? I don't want to see have there too much limitation on Create a Wrestlers anyways. Can you affect other promotions? Your decisions will have ripple effects through the wrestling landscape. We will also have an idea of backstage television where you could see other characters performing in other promotions and keep track of what is happening. Very, very cool. Will title history and win/loss records be recorded? Yes, and if you reset the story mode, that will also reset. We record what happened in all promotions at the same time as well. Okay, interesting, cool. Will there be voice acting at all in the story? No, the story mode is too dynamic for that, so it's just going to be text-based. Question 194, will there be prominent roles for female-specific characters? We will implement the direction of the story depending on some gender dynamics. Question 195, will there be an all-female promotion? Yes. Question 196, will there be a backyard promotion? We would like to create a backyard promotion since lots of people start off their love and in a simple backyard setup. It is part of the wrestling world, so it should be part of the UPW universe as well. But don't try this at home. Cool. Okay. Question 197. Is there free roaming and random encounters? There will be free roaming where you can talk to people before and after their match and your match. Question 198. If I'm playing through a career in an era, will those belts from that era be available in exhibition mode? No, they will be locked to keep the story making sense. Okay, so they will be locked while you're in the midst of the story. Then they'll be unlocked when you finish the story. I gotcha. Question 199. How many championships can you hold at one time in the story? One single and one tag makes the most sense for our current vision of the story mode. If there is a demand for it in the future, we will look into it. That does make sense, but I would love to do a belt collector story at some point in one of the iterations of the story mode, some point down the line. I would love to be the belt collector, do the Kenny Omega belt collector thing where you're going promotion to promotion, capturing all the belts, or you're having, like, even if you're within one organization and you're collecting multiple belts, that would be very cool. Question number 200. Will there be a personal locker room area with achievements showcased? We are playing around with a personal area, but haven't gotten there yet. Question 201. How long until the next campaign? This depends on how well the game does. Once the initial release is finished, we will be able to figure out our footing for the next steps. Fair enough. Question 202. Will future campaigns alter previous ones, like new match types added in the 90s era? Yes, there will be storyline moments that will update here and there, an example being having the option to pick a stipulation for a future match. The stipulation options would update a selection of what you will have available in your game. Very cool. So maybe there's a prompt where you're picking a stipulation for, say, down in the 90s part of the career. Down the line when that comes out, it lets you choose between, say, a barbed wire death match, or a Hell in a Cell, or a ambulance match, you know, for example. Just throwing out examples here, not guaranteed match types that are coming, but just say, for example, you had an option between those three, and whatever you picked, that would then be unlocked once finished in the exhibition mode in your game. But to unlock the other ones, you might have to play through the campaign again to unlock the other ones. Who knows? I don't know if that's the plan, but that sounds pretty cool to me. Question 203, are there plans for a GM mode? Currently, we are only planning for the Legacy Career Mode to be available on release. Other career modes, like a GM, would be a future edition, but it takes a great deal of time. Now, that is it for the storyline content, or for the career mode content. Again, at the end of the video, I will be going over the full set of stuff we missed. I believe at question like 165, I think it was. But I will go over all that at the end of the video for you guys. But now we are going to the Creative Control information. Creative Control, baby. Now, I think this is just the... this would just be the, like, creation suite and everything. Not Creative Control as far as storylines or contracts or anything like that. But we're looking at question 204. What will be in the creation suite for the game? We want to give players as many create options as we can. A complete sandbox game for wrestling fans. If you want to make your wrestler have their own promotion, music, belt, and more, then we want you to be able to do that. Whether they are all ready for the initial release will be tough, but this is the current wish list. So not all this stuff will probably make it in at launch, but this is the wish list. This is what they're looking at. And we might get it all at launch. Who knows? Maybe we get lucky. But we've got create a wrestler, create an attire, create an event, pay-per-view, create a promotion, create a championship. Some subsystems we have, not full creation suites, but upgraded from the original ACI systems are create an entrance, create an arena, texture edit system, custom music editor, create a video package, and create a stable. So very, very cool stuff that they are trying to bring us into this game. Again, the creation suite is going to be one of the biggest features and most focused on features in this game. Unlike Fight Forever, they understand that this is what's going to make the game run and what's going to make players come back to this game time after time to check out community creations, to check out all the new creation parts and stuff they keep adding into the game. So they know the creation suite is going to be their bread and butter. Question 205, texture edit system. Again, we're going into the creation side of things here. So think of the texture edit system as a create an attire. In No Mercy, you could pick a shirt and change some colors, but you would have no editing options past that. This system would be how we make that shirt in the first place. So you would create a shirt with your logo or your decal, then you could take that shirt into the create an attire and use it on multiple attire slots and change just certain colors to make the attires different for a single wrestler. So you would use the texture edit system to create, like, you know, your branded shirt, and then once you port it over and you use it in the create a like when you take it into the create an attire, then you can like do the stuff like you could do in No Mercy or in Revenge, where you just change the color of the stuff, but you're not changing everything else about the attire. So it's very cool that they're looking into multiple layers of the creation suite for you to be able to do all this. Create an attire. You will be able to combine a base layer outfit with a decal layer. So if there is a set of pants that had a red, white, and blue color scheme design, and you want to add your name or another logo on it, you will be able to add decals on top of that set of pants and be able to change the colors of each independently. In this way, if you have a tag team, you can create the same attire for both and just change the label wherever they may have their names for each. Okay? Is there a maximum number of colors that are adjustable for an attire? There will be 6 possible color options for a single attire. 3 for the base layer and 3 for the decal or the decal layer. Okay. Will we have options other than hand drawing logos? We will have a selection of shapes to build decals and logos so you don't have to hand draw every single square and circle. There will also be preset textures for attires so you don't have to build every pattern from scratch. We want to add options for editing the shapes as well as like stretching and things like that. Also, there will be an upload section where you can get logos from community creations online. Oh, thank goodness. Because this wasn't touching on the community creations. Okay, so as long as we can upload our own logos and stuff from community creations, which I knew they were planning on having and they want to have that in there, this is just if you're using the in-game logo like editor. That you'll have those options, you have to do all that. Whew! They had me worried for a second there. So I'm glad that they added that part. There will be an upload section where you can get logos from the community creations online. Great. Question 209. Is the texture editor just for attires? No. You'll be able to add decals and logos to create a promotion as well. For example, using the decal as a ring canvas center logo. Okay, so you'll be able to use all that stuff when you're creating an arena and things like that. So that is very, very good to know. Question 210. Will there be locked content when the game starts? Yes, there will be a shop internally named the Smack Talk Shop, so like your SmackDown Mall from No Mercy, with locked content that can only be unlocked through gameplay and with in-game currency. Again, this is not a cash shop. In-game currency that you earn from playing the game. This will not be an actual paywall. Okay, so they're stating this as well. This will not be an actual paywall, but more of the old SmackDown Mall where you couldn't use certain special move or attire until it was unlocked. The career mode will give you the most return, but you will be able to generate money through exhibition. So in No Mercy, the way you earned money was through the career mode, but you could also earn quite a bit of it through the survival mode. So it sounds like they're taking the same approach. You will be able to get it in exhibition. Hopefully, obviously, through online as well. I hope they incentivize people to play online matches by actually earning more of the currency than you would in regular exhibition online. To me, that would be a great incentive to get players to play more online. So just playing the online match, not just winning, but just playing the online matches will give you more of that currency. I would like to see more of a reward than you would get from the exhibition. Not necessarily too much more than you get from the single-player campaign, but more than you would from exhibition, just again, to really push people towards playing online. I would like to see that personally. Question 211. If there is a piece of ring gear that we really want, can it be added to the game? Okay. There will be certain logos and ring gear that will not be able to... There will be certain logos and ring gear that we will not be able to offer due to copyrights. We can offer approximations, and maybe with enough of the tools we provide you, you can make something that is more than 90% of the way there. That being said, we cannot guarantee every type of gear, mask, and foreign object will make it in the game exactly as you wish it to be. And of course, that makes sense because there's so many different one-off things that somebody's going to want, that having that specific shoulder pad, horn, extra added tail to a mask or a piece of ring gear, I can understand that. But as long as they're putting in stuff and listening to fan feedback and stuff to be able to add things in that people are asking for later on, I'm hopeful for that we will be able to get a lot of creative features or features for the creator wrestler and stuff like that, attire parts, things of that nature. I'm really hoping that will consistently be added to the game over time to grow the creator wrestler for sure. I think that'll for sure be a thing though. Will characters be hidden? Probably not. There will be unlockable, but not characters that people aren't aware of. So certain characters in the game that you already know from the base roster might be hidden or might be unlockable, but there's not going to be characters that you weren't aware that are coming to the game. Okay, that makes sense. How many creator wrestler slots will be available? I get this question all the time. How many? How many, Sam? How many creator wrestler slots are we getting? The answer is the best answer you can hope for. We aim for unlimited number of creator wrestlers. In essence, you're only going to be limited to the amount of storage space you have on your hard drive. So the amount of creator wrestlers is only going to be limited to whatever the space you have on your Nintendo Switch or your PS4, your PS5, your Xbox, whatever version, or your PC. It's whatever the hard drive space you have, so the number is essentially unlimited, which is amazing, and I believe that's the way Fire Pro Wrestling World is as well, so I like seeing that for sure. Will creator wrestlers look like the rest of the roster that is intended to be in the game, or will they stand out? This is a really big question because this has been a problem for so many wrestling games for so long, is that your creator wrestlers look nothing like the in-game wrestlers and they stand out like a sore thumb. In the more recent years of the 2K games, it's gotten a lot better, but if you're not the budget, the size of a 2K game, very, very tough. So, they are aiming to make the game... we are aiming to make the game in a more simplistic style than games where you have scans of real humans added to the game. By avoiding photorealism, we hope the outcome will be that all the characters look like they fit into the UPW universe, which is why they've gone with this beautiful art style. As you can see on the screen right now, this art style makes it a lot easier for you to be able to make the cartoony style of the character you want. Sure, a Goldberg and a Steve Austin might look somewhat similar in the face, but you're going to have the body types and everything that make them stand out and make them unique to them. But I think that's amazing, and I do love the art style personally. I think it looks great. I'm so much happier they went with this art style than with photorealism, because it's just so much easier to develop, and we're seeing that with how fast Ultra Pro Wrestling's being developed versus so many other wrestling games that are, in the pipelines that have been in the works for many, many years. So I'm very happy with this art style. I really, really like it, and I really hope that all characters really fit into the Ultra Pro Wrestling universe in that style, whether it's a Goku creator wrestler or a Vegeta creator wrestler, or it's a Roman Reigns creator wrestler, I hope, or a Kenny Omega, or a Will Ospreay. I really hope they all just fit in, and they look like them, but they look like them in this style. Question number 215. Will players have the ability to edit pre-existing wrestlers? And if so, to what extent? Yes, all wrestlers in the game will be fully customizable. The only exception is the wrestlers who are actively involved in your current career mode chapter. These wrestlers will only be partially editable while active, while you're in the midst of that campaign. You will be able to change everything about the starting roster, small changes like facial hair and attire color, to complete visual changes to your favorite wrestlers. So you'll be able to make a blue-collar Bill Dollar look like a Stone Cold Steve Austin, look like an Undertaker, look like a Bret Hart. If that's what you choose for him, you'll be able to fully change his movesets, fully change them, whatever you want. There is no limit. You can change male wrestlers to female wrestlers and vice versa. Change their entire moveset, how they look, everything. Nothing is off the table, and I absolutely love that. Again, when you're in the middle of the campaign in the career, you won't be able to edit certain parts of that until you're finished that. Makes sense. Question 216. How many create slots will a single character get? So, how many attire slots are each character's getting? This is another question that I've heard a lot. Each character will get 4 attire slots attached to how many eras exist in-game and what quarter of the year it is. So, if you are in the 80s and it is the second quarter of the year, you will automatically be in that attire. This is in the campaign. As we add eras, you will get more attire slots. Also, each attire will have a backstage and an entrance addition to their attires. So you get your what you're wearing backstage on that attire, as well as your entrance gear for that attire. But it looks like we're getting, from what I'm understanding from this, is we're getting 4 attire slots per era. So you'll have the 80s career mode, you get 4 attire slots, and it'll be for each quarter of that era you're in. And then when we get the 90s, you're going to get another 4 attire slots for the 90s. Then you get another 4 slots in the 2000s, then the 2010s, and it'll just keep on expanding. So the more eras we get, the more attire slots we're going to get for each character, which is really, really cool. So you'll be able to see someone like a Ric Flair you'll be able to keep those 80s attires, but then you get to have him the way he looked, maybe with a different haircut in the 90s. And then what he looked like in the 2000s. Same thing with like a Hulk Hogan. You'll have your 80s style Hogan. You know, you can have before he made the WWF. Then you can have him with his WWF days. Then you can have him go into his WCW gear in the 90s. You get the Hollywood gimmick. And then all the way back into the WWE in the 2000s. I love that you'll be able to stretch those attires across. Same thing with someone like The Rock. You're going to have his, you know, Rocky Maivia gear from the early 90s, and then you want to put him in his The Rock gear from the later 90s, and then you're going to want him as bald. You're going to change the tattoos in the 2000s, and then change his gear even more when you get to the 2010s or 2020s. I love that you'll be able to have all those eras and all those attires per era. Absolutely love that. Sounds wonderful to me. How customizable, 217, how customizable are the characters in terms of unnatural limb scaling and stretching? Can we make monsters? So another 2-in-1 question here, but they say, we will see if it fits into the game style correctly, but it is possible in our current system. It is possible in the current system. Right now, the inhuman elements that will definitely be in the game can be seen on their roster page. If you've seen some of the like robot characters, they do have a couple of monster characters that stand out, and like alien characters as well as UPW Man, a throwback to AKI Man / THQ Man that they had in Revenge, in WCW NWO Revenge. I love that we're getting UPW Man, but definitely go to the Ultra Pro Wrestling page. Again, I will link all the socials for UPW down. I will leave it as a pinned comment for this video. And you can go and check out the roster page to see some of the examples they leave for you there. Now, can you customize the lengths of pants and hair outside of selecting a different item? Not for clothes. The mesh of the models attached to certain parts of the character's skeletons, so it may cause issues to the rig of the model. We would more likely have options for lengths as opposed to a slider. Hair should be okay. So you're not going to have like a slider for clothes, but more likely for hair. That makes sense. Will there be masks and face paints? Yes, we haven't fleshed out the customization of the masks just yet, but face paint would attach to our texture edit system. Question 220, can we rip off an opponent's mask? Full removal or just tearing? We haven't decided yet, but we will implement some kind of mechanic for mask damage / removal. We had it in World Tour. I think we also had it in Revenge. I don't know if it was also in the virtual pro wrestling games, but we did have it in some of those Aki games, so I definitely would expect it to come back similar to the way it did in those games. Question 221. If I put a singlet on my character, can they do a taunt that pulls down the straps? We will have removal of pads in animations, like an elbow pad, maybe a knee pad, but a singlet is too difficult to implement. So sadly, we are not getting the pulling down of the straps in this game. Maybe we can hope for a future DLC down the line, but at this point, it's not in the cards. But we are hearing that we are going to get like the elbow pad remover for like say a people's elbow, maybe the knee pads for like an Adam Cole, his knee strike. So cool to know that we are getting that stuff. Question 222, will each of the designated promotion arenas be editable? All the promotions will be editable, so once you complete the chapter in the campaign, it will become editable, including the title belts that were connected to each promotion. So yes, so once you finish the story, the campaign, you will be able to edit all those promotions, including the titles and everything in that promotion, fully customizable. That is good to hear. 223, will there be musical choices for promotions? We would like to give the option for selecting theme music for a promotion similar to different shows having different opening music in real-life wrestling shows. 224, what are some customizations you can make for a ring? Other than the color changes, we would like to add customizations to turnbuckles, turnbuckle pads, ring posts, aprons, and logos. These subtle details make the promotions feel different from each other. Very cool to know we're going to be getting those customizable options. I love that. 225, what are some customizations you can do for the lights? We can customize the house lights and ring lights separately. You can control the colors and intensity of each independently. Very cool. 226. Will there be different guardrails around the ring? Yes, we definitely want the old school rail with fabric around it, along with current barricade styles at the very least. We may also get a chance to do the basic rope off the crowd, but that will involve some extra logic so it doesn't act like a hard surface. Of course, they will have color options as well. So we're definitely going to get the barricade style and the more current style of barricades. Probably LEDs once you get into the 90s and the 2000 DLCs as well. You'll probably get those LED boards as well. But as far as different stuff, it might require a little bit more work. So we'll see what happens at launch. Will there be region-specific options for create a promotions? We would like to incorporate region and timing-specific elements for customization. We would like to see chairs, tables, and stop signs different per region, and we would like to emulate that in weapon availability as well. That's very cool, but I thought that was really cool, but I would also like to see having, like in Japan, they have a 20 count, where in North America, they have a 10 count, right? So I would like to see stuff like that implemented as well. Little changes to rules and things like that, like an over-the-top rule perhaps as a disqualification. Just having little different rule sets you can set to promotions would be very cool. Same thing for ECW, like when they add in the 90s, having a promotion like that where there's no disqualifications in all of the matches, right? You can still have different match types like tables matches and ladder match, stuff like that, but there are no disqualifications in any of the matches. I would like to be able to see promotion-specific, stipulations like that. And question 228, how do you create a video package? This is still being worked on, but what we want to have is a menu where you can scrub through the last match, save snippets locally, and then create a video package menu. Stitch those clips together to make a full music video. The match videos would not be automatic because it would clog up your save file data. Okay, so it's still being worked on how that's going to work, but that sounds really cool if we can do that. 229. Will the soundtrack be inspired by the Aki N64 games? Yes! We definitely want to maintain the same vibe, specifically the music from WCW vs. NWO World Tour. Maybe even get our own version of the Diggity Dog in some of the menus. That would be awesome. Question 230. Why use the custom music editor and not just upload music? This is a very common question. I get questions about the music all the time. So here's your answer. A large part of the game is built around an online element, which will cause legal issues when using licensed music. The MIDI versions of the music will be a lot safer for streaming, recording, and reusing. If we can get an upgraded music system other than the MIDI version, we would love to have it, but right now, that is our fallback. So that is your answer, guys. And that makes things a lot easier for people like me who want to make videos, who want to stream the game. That is going to make life a lot easier. Is the custom music editor a Steam exclusive? No, the custom music editor allows you to create, edit, and share MIDI files in all versions of the game. So, and as far as I understand, the community creations is also going to be cross-platform. So if people make music on PC, you'll be able to download those tunes on Switch or on the PlayStation and stuff as well, from what I understand. So that's awesome. Could I scan my face in Create a Wrestler? No, at this time. Obviously, we've got so much that need to be done to the creation suite before we can play around with stuff like that, but that's an interesting idea. But we wouldn't want it just to be a projection of your face because it wouldn't fit the style of the other characters in the game. Exactly. So it'll be interesting how we're able to get real wrestlers in game and how community creators are able to replicate real-life wrestlers, right? Because you're not just going to be able to take a face scan from, say, the 2K games and take that picture and just plaster it over, because it wouldn't look right in this art style. So it'll be interesting to see how creators go about making in-game real-life wrestlers. But I have faith, and I'm happy that we have community creations, first and foremost. Question 233, will there be robot parts, fantasy elements, or anime hair? There are some unique hairstyles, so probably at some point we will add an option, but we have to get to the end of our original roster and the creator wrestler assets before we see what we are missing and see what we need to add in a next update. For some ideas of what is currently going to be in the game, check out the roster page, check out the designs from Hal Haney, which will influence the kind of elements that will be in the creator wrestler suite at launch. So when you go in there, you're going to see he has a huge roster. There's going to be elements of stuff that I'm sure you'll be able to put on masks and things like that from like the alien characters and all different stuff, and there's going to be tons of different hairstyles. Beyond that, then they're going to have to look, once they've created all their characters, what they have to add to be able to get, say, a Goku or a Vegeta's hair or a Super Saiyan hairstyle and stuff like that. It'll take time, but I think we'll get to the point where we have all that kind of stuff in there, and you'll be able to make all your favorite anime and cartoon and other universes characters in the game. I really think we will get to that point. I mean, look how cool this DLC, like the in-game DLC for, say, Matt Cardona, look how cool that model looks. I think it looks fantastic. 234, are there movable parts available for characters? No, it has not come up at all before outside of maybe a spinner for the title belt. So there you go. Question 235, can we upload new models to the game? Actually, that question 234, are there going to be movable parts for characters? That was actually a question Clint asked in our interview of Sam. I'm wondering if this question got added to their this frequently asked questions. I'm wondering if this got added from that specifically, from our interview with him. Anyways, can we upload new modes to the game? That's a weird question. 235. Can we upload new models to the game? No. Every wrestler will be built off the create system, so there are no scan models in the game. You won't be able to upload individual parts without messing with parts that exist in the game. Can we create a move? No. But we are looking to we are looking at adjustments to moves, maybe slow or speed up certain moves to make their own moves unique in the future. Can we create a story? No. There is currently no plans for customizing or creating your own story. Characters and promotions are editable, which will affect the visuals of the stories, but in-game stories are currently going to be set. Any further story mode editing would have to become well after release. So they're not saying no, they're just saying definitely not right now, and definitely not at launch. Will there be cross-platform community creations? I already went over this, but yes, I guess I jumped ahead of the gun a little bit here, but 238, will there be cross-platform community creations? And can I bring my character with me to another console? We want to see you go from console to console with your information and be able to access your last saves. With that, we also want you to be able to create whoever you choose and share it with everyone. If someone spends 10 hours on a costume, we don't expect everyone else will do that. But they would want that level of effort on their characters. We haven't worked out exactly how that will work cross-platform, but it's something we want to deliver. So again, they want cross-platform community creations. They need to have cross-platform community creations. It is a must. WWE's had it for a very long time now. It's been incredibly successful and has to be there in my opinion. But I am not a dev. I don't know the technical limitations and struggles and everything that will go into that, especially with Nintendo being involved. So I don't know, but I really hope that we not only have cross-play, but cross-platform community creations. Cross-play obviously is the final step. That's what we really want, but cross-platform community creations is a start, and we definitely want that in there, and it's good to know they are aiming for that. They really want that as well. 239. Will we be able to change the sound of the rings? We would like to add this option, but it has to fit in the game. Getting the sound right is more of a challenge than just taking a recording and putting it in the game. More likely, there will be types of rings, and the sound of the rings will be different for each type. So more likely, they'll have different types of rings for you that will have the sounds, rather than you being able to change the sound of a specific ring. So you just pick the ring that has the sound that you like, basically. 240. Will there be double or triple rings? Double rings is currently not planned for the initial release. So I'm guessing that goes to triple rings as well. Not planned for the initial release. But again, we had War Games. I think that, or no, World War III, is that what they called the 3-ring battle royal that WCW had in the 90s? I definitely think we'll get it in the 90s DLC. Will the intro of the game change when we change the characters and promotion designs? Yes. At this stage, the plan is for it to function just like No Mercy. Awesome. Can we create an online promotion to work with their own belts? The current plan for the online mode is The current plan for online mode is to just use it for matches. Online promotions is a good idea to consider since people already tried to do that with friends. We will see how much time and testing it will take to create this. So creating an online promotion that works with their own belts, that would be really, really cool to see. I would love to see it. We'll see if they're able to get that to us. I doubt we'll see that at launch, though. Can the ladders and cages change colors and styles? Ladder and cage color is set by the promotion. There will be an option to change the cage type from chain link fence to iron bar cage. There will be also be size options for ladders to increase or decrease the size. Beautiful. Love it. Can you change the lighting in an arena? Yes, you can change the house lights, the lights above the ring, and also the entire rig above the ring. Beautiful. 245. Can you change how crowded the arena is? Yes, if you want an empty arena, you can have it. 246. Will there be options for stables other than just putting them together? We would like to have group entrances for tag teams and trios that have different animation, music, and video package than the individuals. Nice. 247. Will stages for a promotion be customizable depending on the size of the arena? Yes, you can update your stage since each promotion can grow. There needs to be a small, medium, and large version of each stage to fit in the larger and small venues. What are some of the options for stage editing? You can decide if the entrance is centered, off center, or from the corner, the height, if it's on the floor or if it's raised. So that will decide if there is a ramp and what kind of ramps you have. From there, you will have options like, is there curtains, where the screens could go, as well as a selection for props to place with custom placement and scaling. So it sounds like the Create Arena will be quite extensive, much more so sounding than, say, AEW Fight Forever. So that's good to hear. Will the backstage area also have differences? Yes. Depending on the size of the venue, there will be different sizes to the backstage, small, medium, and large. They will also be editable along with your promotions. The big leagues should have a bigger and better look than an indie promotion. That is super freaking cool. I'm super happy to hear that. I love the focus on the backstage. Question 250. Will entrance ramps be customizable? Yes, ramp size and different guardrail setups will be available. We also want elevated and flat stages since some promotions allowed the stage at the same height as the ring and other ramps down. As always, if there is anything glaringly obviously that should be in the game after release, make your case to us and we will see if we can put it in. Beautiful. That's cool. I love that they're receptive to adding stuff into the game after release if we really want it. So that's really cool to hear. 251, can you create a pay-per-view / premium live event locally for a one-time setup with friends? You will be able to create events through the created promotions, stages, and then venue. Once the event is created, you will be able to start it locally and add whatever matches you would like to start it up. So the answer is yes. Question 252. Will there be mod support? Possibly. It's a big issue to look into. So we're unsure right now. Question 253. Can we get a green screen room? That is a good idea that we will look into either adding or making sure that you can make it in the Create a Promotion. Okay? Now, that is it for the Creation Suite side of the questions here. Now we are getting into the showcase. Now, first of all, 254, what is or was the 2023 showcase? The showcase was how we showed the fans where the game currently was in development, as well as some of the things to look forward to in the future. We're currently we show early footage of the game, some create a wrestler customization, and multiple old and new free agents that came into the game, including Matt Cardona. I've been showcasing the 2023 showcase in this gameplay footage as well. This was made with a specific deadline in mind, so some issues couldn't be cleared or properly explained. So hopefully this section will clarify things. So yeah, so the 2023 showcase, as you can see on screen now, this wasn't part of the 2023 showcase, but this is showing some of the Create a Wrestler. And we will go back here and show you the showcase. So I believe this is what he's talking about when they're talking about what is the 2023 showcase. So I'll let that play in the background for you guys now. And 255. Are these the final models and animations? No. The models and animations will be tweaked and refined over time, but we wanted to show just how far the game has come since early prototype videos and the Kickstarter designs were shown. Everything is further proof of concept at this stage. Yeah, so this is the 2023 showcase that they were talking about. Are there move animations? Sorry, are there more moves animated than what we saw? Yes, but for the characters we chose to show, we picked moves that would fit those characters specifically. 257. One of the female characters that was modeled, Betty Bulldozer, was missing something. Was her makeup different? Yes, her makeup didn't make is on the original model, but not the one that was imported into the game engine. There was an issue with that layer that will be fixed in future uses of the character model. Okay, so I never saw that or noticed that really. But there you go. Will be fixed, obviously, before release. So 258. There was a running strike that didn't knock down an opponent. I thought Aki always made a running strike knock someone down. This will be updated in future builds. In the showcase build, damage modifiers for strikes were all set the same. A regular strike affected the opponent just as a running strike. They will be properly categorized and cause the right reactions in future builds. 259. The faces don't move. Will the faces move in the full game? We will have facial animations in the full game. Perfect. 260. When you climb to the top turnbuckle, it looks like you don't automatically jump. Do you manually have to press a button because that does deviate from the Aki style? Yes, that is true. Our reason for this is that we want to have top rope strikes and top rope moves like high crossbody, where the move actually connects with the opponent and forces a corresponding animation. So now that top rope will be either an A or B option, just like running. So you're gonna have more moves from the top rope than you did in the No Mercy games that you'll be able to equip to your character, is what that's saying. The guardrails and an entrance ramp angle off to the side. Are you changing how the arena is set up from the Aki games? This is a customization to show the depth options for the arena. This is just one of the customizations you can add to your stage, event, and arena we have in store for you. 262. You use a tool to stretch and grow character of Bill Dollar during one of the CAW demonstrations. Is that all you can do? No. We will be adding more unique body types and customizations as we go, and you can have different muscle and mass distribution. It won't just be wide muscle and thin muscles. Now, on to perfect timing with the video. We are on to the free agents. Of course, Americana isn't one of the free agents. This is in-game roster. but they will shortly be showing the free agent DLC. People have asked me about this as well. A lot of people have questions about the free agent DLC signings, how they're going to work. So 263, will there be free agent bundles? That is something we will have to discuss with the wrestlers and estates we were able to get in the game. We don't want to force a decision on anybody at this time, but it's a possibility. Will any wrestlers on the indies be in the free agent packages? We love the indies, but this is a retro style game. To go after newer and upcoming wrestlers won't fit the feel of the rest of the universe we are building, but we are building a lot of interest in other wrestlers joining the game. So it sounds like not at launch, but maybe down the line that's something they could look at. But we'll just have to see how popular the game gets. 265, just reveal all the free agents as they come in. That was more of a statement than a question. But they said it's better to spread out those reveals so that we can have a consistent pattern of updates for everyone. If it makes sense to reveal more than one in close proximity, we will, but don't expect that to be the norm. 266, will the free agent parts be available for our creator wrestlers? Yes and no. There will be some new customizations that come in from free agents, but not all. Some face or body modeling may be kept to their specific character to keep their appearance unique to themselves. I'm really disappointed to hear that. I actually don't like that at all. I was really hoping that once you pay for that free agent, you can use them, edit them, change them up however you want, have that face go on any other character, any texture part on any other different character. So I really don't like them having anything locked to any of the DLCs. Once you've bought it, you can use it on any of them. But speaking of the free agent DLC, here we go. Matt Cardona, we know, one of the first free agent DLCs that signed a UPW. That model from Hal Haney looks amazing, and how they were able to bring it to life in the art style of the game looks absolutely amazing to me. Very happy with how the DLC, if they're all going to look this good, how they're going to look. But I definitely don't want parts that are unique to the DLC that we can't use in the rest of the game or for other creations. So we'll have to see how that all pans out. Question 267. If I use those parts or moves, will my creations be able to go on community creations for free? This was actually a specific question. I think these two parts are actually from the interview that we did, Clint and I did, Strizer Tube Wrestling, shout outs to Strizer, that we did with Sam Vallely ourselves, because I don't think they had this before. I specifically asked this, if those specific parts, like a Matt Cardona's jacket, I have paid for the DLC and I put it on a creator wrestler, will I then be able to upload that creator wrestler that has those specific parts to community creations, and will other people be able to download it without having to download the DLC? The answer was no. They will have to own the DLC. The answer is yes, you can upload them to the community creations, but people will have to own that corresponding DLC. So anyone who has created a character using DLC moves or creator wrestler parts can still be uploaded to share, but you will need those corresponding DLCs to keep the creator wrestler exactly as is. We will probably put an alert in some place that says that a character you are trying to save has DLC parts, and we will add in a way to show which DLC content or connects to which parts. So that's good that they'll actually show you what part is attached to what, so that you can edit that yourself. Now, question 268: how do you decide the attires for the free agents? The attires and gimmicks that a free agents have will be dictated by the rights that they own associated to those characters they have portrayed. So if someone owns the rights to an old character that was televised before, we would be able to add them in the game. If not, and another media company owns the rights to that gimmick, then we will have to use another set of gear to the character that they do own the rights to. So, if a character, for example, we just saw Devon with the Testify 3D shirts, maybe the Dudley Boys is owned by WWE, so maybe they can't use the Dudley Boys on that, so they have to go with the TNA gimmick or the Impact gimmick that they had, because that's what they own the rights to. That makes sense to me. So anything that's owned by WWE, that if they own the rights, you will not be seeing it on those DLC wrestlers. But as you can see, we got really cool guys like Glacier, like Mortis. We have those character stuff. So I'm very excited to see what WWE doesn't own so far. So I'm very happy to see that. Will there be, question 269, will there be any wrestlers that are fictional appearing as free agents? We are open to it if there are options. Okay, so maybe like a Superman, a Scorpion from Mortal Kombat, a Ninja Turtles, a Street Fighter character, Fortnite character. I don't know, like Minecraft characters. Who knows? Like if the game gets popular enough, and there's some sort of team up, that would be really cool to see. I guess Dragon Ball characters, of course, that would be really neat. 270. Will free agents licensing cause us to lose a character when the license is up? We will structure the contract so the rights for the likenesses used in the game will be available for the lifetime of the game. So you don't have to worry about that at all. That's fantastic. 271. What is the price of a free agent? We will allow the wrestlers / their estates to make those decisions. We will make recommendations based on the market and what our fans expect, but at the end of the day, it's going to come down to the wrestlers and their estates, what they decide to charge for each wrestler. So one wrestler might cost you $2 or $1, and another wrestler might cost you $20. It all depends on the wrestlers and the states themselves. They're going to make those decisions. All UPW can do is give them a recommendation, because again, they're splitting these profits 50-50. They're splitting the proceeds from the DLC, each one that's bought, with that estate, and that's how they are paying those wrestlers. So if there's a specific wrestler that you see as DLC that is one of your favorite wrestlers and you want a way to directly support them, well, buying them in Ultra Pro Wrestling is directly putting money in their pocket or in the pocket of their estate, family, whatever. So it's a great way to actually support your favorite wrestlers that you see on the DLC roster, on the free agent roster. Now we are moving on away from the free agents over to the Kickstarter information. Question 272. Did the Kickstarter end, and was the game funded? Yes, it ended. We had a successful Kickstarter campaign that smashed the initial goal as well as some of the stretch goals. If you still want to contribute and have the means, please use our Patreon or wait until the game is ready for purchase. Once again, I will be leaving their Patreon linked in a pinned comment down below for you guys. Question 273. How do we submit images for the super fan backer reward of appearing as a fan in Ultra Pro Wrestling? This is a tier that I'm part of, and I will be a fan. I will be a member of the audience. Mr. Dubs will be in that audience in Ultra Pro Wrestling. I will be scanned as one of the audience members in there, so that's cool. So this is explaining how to do it. I did it long ago, but once the Kickstarter ends, which it has, we will compile a spreadsheet to track each backer and the reward they have pledged for. We will contact each of the superfans and provide instructions on the image capture and sending process, which I did long ago. Update to that, all emails should have been sent out. Please send in your superfan pictures if you have backed that reward. If you haven't received the email, please confirm with a member of the team on Discord. I did. I sent it in, so that should all be well and done. Will the superfans appear in every match? Some will, but not every single person will appear every single time. It will be a selection always in the front row. Okay, so we'll always appear in the front row. Interesting, and it'll be a random selection. That's very cool. Question 275. Can we wear fan shirts or for the superfan backer reward image, or will that cause licensing issue? If the shirt is an issue, we will edit it. Send us what you can. We're going to adapt the images to the style of the game, so everything has to be drawn in by hand anyways. 276. Is the replica backer belt in the game? There will only be one UPW Internet Champion in the game that will be defended on our weekly stream. Ultra Pro Wrestling will be a promotion within the game with its own belts as well. So the replica title that I'll be getting, as I am a championship backer, will be that UPW Internet Champion. So that is very cool. And you're looking at the guy who plans on being the very first UPW Internet Champion. So I'll see you in the ring. Now, who is holding the replica belt in the promo image? The man in the picture is Dusty Gannon of the band Vision Video. Okay. Question 278. Is the backer belt real? Yes. There is already a prototype for the belt that will be shipped in the office. Great. Well, we've already seen that. Well, I have anyway. Some of us have. Question 279. I missed the Kickstarter. Can I still get involved in the early access demo? Backers to Kickstarter will get that version of the game when it comes out in 2023. It's 2024 now for the early access demo, but after some time and testing with that group, it will become available to everyone as a standalone game. We are discussing other options to get more people involved in the early access demo, probably by use of Patreon, so stay tuned for updates. So yeah, you'll probably be able to get in. There's probably an option on their Patreon by now to get in on the demo. They'll also be releasing it to the general public at some point after, the Kickstarter supporters, and I'm sure their Patreon backers have had their time with it first, and then they'll probably release the demo for just the whole general public for everybody to play. Now that is it for that side. Now we're looking at the Blast information, the UPW Monday Blast information, which to me is probably the most exciting part of all of Ultra Pro Wrestling for me. I know I've probably said that about some other parts and some other things as well, but I couldn't be more excited for UPW Monday Blast. Now, question 280. What is Blast? What is Ultra Pro Wrestling Monday Blast? Blast will be our weekly stream where we will host players to compete live for the Internet Wrestling Championship. We will also show promo videos and interviews for you, by you, the viewers/competitors. So it's going to be a weekly show where there's going to be a title defended every single week, which yours truly plans on holding and defending every week if I can beat the competition, which you best believe I'm going to be trying. I'm going to be putting in those hours for chat. You can catch the live streams. I'll be competing every week and doing my best to get into those championship matches. Whatever you have to do, I will be doing my best to compete every single week. But I'm very excited because we're having an actual online wrestling champion. One champion. It's going to be amazing. Next question, 281. Sorry, spoiler alert. I just gave it, but 281. How many online championships will there be? They're unsure. We plan for the online singles and online tag team championships. We may add gender and region-specific championships. That makes sense because if the connections are really terrible between, say, I'm in North America, someone else is in Japan, someone else is in the UK, someone else is in South America, and the connections just aren't good between players, they might make region-specific titles. That would make sense to me. How many matches will be on UPW Monday Blast? We will have to figure out time limits for matches to see what is fair for the lower card and championship match. Before we can do that, we need at least the one-on-one demo to get an average match time. The stream would probably be an hour to an hour and a half, and then we would determine how many matches we can fit in. Gotcha. Question 283. What if someone cheats to win on Blast? We want to make it hard to knock out the referee. It shouldn't be an accident. It should still count as a win because it isn't hacking, just normal wrestling cheating. Okay, so they're not talking about hacking or people using in-game cheats. They're talking about if it's not a no disqualification match, if you use weapons and cheat in the match, it would work the same as a regular wrestling match. If you knock out the referee and you get away with the cheating in the match, good for you. I'm just wondering if you're champion, will the championship change hands on a disqualification? Because otherwise, it would be a cheese where, like, the champion, if they know they're not going to win, would just get themselves disqualified or counted out. So you'd have to have championships change hands on disqualification. So that didn't happen, right? 284, how do I get on Blast? One of the ways we are planning to handle it is by having online the rank of all players, so playing ranked matches online. top players will most likely be able to get on and challenge for championships. There will be opportunities outside of the ranking, like most wrestling. We would also like to implement a battle royal to decide a challenger as well. So they can have an online battle royal, like a Royal Rumble type deal. That would be really cool as well. 285. How can I watch? What is the timing? We will decide the time of the weekly show and how it will be streamed. Right now, it would be hosted by us on our stream, whether it be on YouTube or Twitch. We will test the recording process for matches to see if we can make them more cinematic. Otherwise, it will be a spectator mode. 286. When can we get more concrete information on Blast? Much closer to the release of the current game. UPW Slam. So that is the end of the Blast conversation for now. We're going over to UPW Slam now. Question 287. I saw a video online for a 2D version of the game. This is not entirely true. The video is for a future concept set within the UPW universe, tentatively known as Slam. This was an idea that came from Hal Haney because initially he had pictured his characters in a Saturday Night Slam Master style of game. This was before he signed up for Ultra Pro Wrestling and allowed his designs to be featured in this game. This is not going to start on development anytime soon. The video was just a visual concept for a possible future project. This will not take any resources away from Ultra Pro Wrestling, and the original Ultra Pro Wrestling game has not been abandoned in favor of this 2D pixel art throwback style of game. Nothing has changed how the current project is going, and nothing has been solidified in terms of planning, development, or timing of this game. So if you saw those images of like the Saturday Night Slam Master style of Ultra Pro Wrestling, that's all it is. It's a it's a concept. It's something that they plan on working on in the future, but it will not take away anything from Ultra Pro Wrestling itself. Now, earlier on, there's a question of what is the legacy career. We did go over some of that, but this specifically right here, I will just full screen so you guys understand. This is just the breakdown of Ultra Pro Wrestling's career mode. I will put it up on the screen for you guys to follow along for the legacy career. So, there we go. Make sure it is large enough for you guys to read, even if you're on your phones. All right, so when designing our campaigns, we are always looking to the future and the potential to have multiple single-player campaign types. As such, we have named our first and main story mode Legacy Career. You can play this mode with any of the game's wrestlers if unlocked, or with any created wrestler. With Legacy Career, you'll be able to experience the life of a professional wrestler. The story mode will be split into decades, and you will begin your wrestling career in the 1980s. You can wrestle for one or many different promotions across the USA, Canada, Mexico, Puerto Rico, continental Europe, Japan, and the UK, with stopovers at venues all over the world. Each promotion will have their own unique challenges and opportunities, so you'll never quite know what you're getting until you walk into that locker room and shake the hand of the promoter. And some of them, well, all I'm saying, you better check that payout again. How you manage that is up to you. Maybe you'll be a charismatic machine that rolls through the industry like a titan, headlines bouts, collecting eye-watering paychecks, and whining and dining and limousine riding. Or maybe you just love wrestling and want to take your skills somewhere where they'll be appreciated. Somewhere where you can earn the hearts and minds of those honorable, insane, extreme, or slightly smoky fans. Maybe somewhere with the big boys. Or maybe just where the big boys play, you get that one? Or maybe somewhere where just people like to watch you bleed. Somewhere warm and sunny, maybe cold and wet. North, south, maybe the Midwest. So many choices, but the clock is ticking and everyone wants to take your spot. Hard times ahead. It's not all bad on the road though. Throughout your career, you'll have plenty of chances to make new friends, reunite with old ones, impress a promoter, hire a manager, and find yourself a tag team partner. And sometimes You'll need a few matches to save your skin when the wildest fans turn or help even the odds with a timely run-in when your back's against the wall. But their friendship may come with a price. Are you willing to change up your look and be part of a team? Not everyone looks good in a suit. Absolutely nobody looks good in a chicken suit. Be careful not to steal anyone's moves either, or you might see a good friend turn to a bitter enemy in a blink of an eye, brother. But hey, if that doesn't work out, you can always turn heel and betray them all. Awesome. You can set down roots and grow your popularity in one location and become a living legend in one region, company, and country, and an ambassador and a hero and holdout, or just a fan of repetition. But then, when things aren't going your way, when the heat gets too much, or you just find yourself jerking the curtain to cold crowds rather than living the rock and roll show you were promised, then it's time to up sticks and take your baggage to a new promotion in a different part of the world. There will be many ups and downs throughout your career, and the more you explore the world of UPW, the more goodies you will unlock. Your very own wrestling treasure hunt. Good luck. It's all about the gimmicks, dude. Your creativity will be in demand too. Will you be the wrestler to take advantage of this boom in the industry? Design your own t-shirts and merch to hawk at the concession stand and get another run on that poster they can't even get enough of on mail order, or they can't get enough of on mail order. Did you remember to get your headshots? Creative want you to take a look at their latest music and video ideas. And did someone say action figures? I just hope your business acumen is as good as your submission skills. Each decade will be released in a new story pack after development is completed, but you'll have to play through the previous decade first to experience what they have to offer. No peeking. Here's a wee example. Do you see why I saved this to the end? Because this was very extensive, and this is why I was saving this for here. But here's a wee example. Once you battle your way through the highs and lows of the crazy 80s for the first time and the downloadable content pack of the 90s becomes available, you will be able to unlock the next decade. From here, you can continue playing as your previously selected wrestler, or you can even start an entirely new 90s career with a different wrestler in a different starting promotion. Hell, you can even go back and try a different direction starting from the 80s. On completion of one decade, you will unlock the ability to customize promotions, wrestlers, belts, anything you like from that decade. Ultra Pro Wrestling is an ode to the action, the drama, and the masterful storytelling of the greatest sport in the world and those who made it all possible. So maybe you'll notice a familiar storyline unfolding or a unique angle that rings a bell. That's because characters and feud elements will be inspired by real-world wrestlers and historic moments. I mean, who jumps through the barbershop windows anyways? Tie that to the creation suite and you can relive and reimagine any scenario in wrestling history. Your career path will not be linear or predetermined. Everything that happens in your career will happen dynamically based on a great number of factors such as your character's popularity, morality, and in-ring skill. How big you get, how low you fall, and how many adoring fans sing your name in arenas around the world? Well, that's up to you. You've never played a career mode like this before. Unequal depth, detail, customization, and creation all at your fingertips with a progression system that keeps track of every little stat you could ever want, or not, across the thousands of matches and decades upon decades of a career. A groundbreaking system built specifically from the ground up for Ultra Pro Wrestling, tied to the one-of-a-kind Ultra Pro Wrestling engine that captures the feel of the classic N64 games, that will combine your in-ring and backstage actions with a progressive, engaging storyline with no dead ends and no game overs. There is no short ride, believe me. You'll need to buckle up those boots and tape those fists because you're about to be tested by a gaming experience unlike any other. This is the career mode you've been waiting for. Oh, and it doesn't end when you retire. So, my goodness, you guys. Absolutely crazy. The things they are aiming to give us in this career mode. I myself am so very, very excited for it. But as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, and if you're still with us here, this is my little bonus from my interview with Sam Vallely on StriderTube Wrestling's channel. Links again to the full interview will be left in the pinned comment down below for you guys. But here is another bonus question asked from me directly to Sam Vallely. So here you guys go. I hope you all enjoy. So one of the things I thought was one of the most fascinating things, and I think one of the most ambitious things you guys are planning on doing, is you're having a weekly TV stream where you're having a weekly event where you're going to be having a championship defended every week. We obviously don't know at this point if crossplay is going to be 100% at launch or not. If it is, I know the plan is just having one champion. That's it, an internet champion for all platforms. Otherwise, if you have to do, I mean, I've heard the ideas thrown up in the past of maybe having a North American champion, maybe having, you know what I mean, just because of connections and stuff. If you have to do stuff like that, or having an Xbox champion, a PlayStation, if crossplay isn't there at launch. But because this has never been done before, and it sounds so fast, because this is a way that even if the player base isn't huge, it's something that'll bring them together every week, that will get players playing the game and for online matches, which for me as an online player, it's a huge deal. So I was curious on how players will be able to match each other for specific, either be it the title matches or number one contenders matches. Say you do like a battle royal for the number one contender or even for the championship. How will viewers, as well as not only how will we match each other for that, but how will viewers via Twitch or YouTube or whatever be able to watch those matches? Like if, say, it's just some random person who doesn't stream, doesn't have a setup or anything, how will we be able to watch that title match? As well as how will the players themselves be able to link up? So sorry, it's a two-part question.
All right, yeah. I mean, watching the title match, that's something that we will do live. So it won't just be a match that, like, if you're the champion, you don't get to just decide, okay, I'm going to defend it at 7 o'clock tomorrow. You know, if you're the champion, you can obviously play in other matches and non-title matches, but you have to then defend the title at the weekly show. So and that'll be something. But
how are viewers going to be able to watch that match? Like my thoughts was like if you were going to do a special guest referee where you're the ref every week, and we would just see it from your perspective of, like, you know what I mean? We would be able to watch the match via your stream. That was the only way I could think that you could go about it, where this title match could be broadcast on the stream, because I don't know how else you could go about it.
Yeah, I guess it's like, well, whenever you do something online, all the inputs and everything are recorded and they're uploaded to the server. So that server, all that information just comes back to, it just gets interpreted in technically another version of the game. Nice. That's just sort of relaying the information. So the person who's defending the title, he doesn't have to be streaming it or anything like that.
That's what I mean, right? So if I'm just a viewer on Twitch, how are you going to have the stream where we're going to be able to watch the match in real time?
So you're going to host it then?
Yeah, you would go to Twitch/Ultra Pro Wrestling, whatever it is, and we will have basically a real-time recreation of the match happening, basically getting the information from our servers.
That's cool. That's cool.
What's happening with the match.
Kind of like a live broadcast, huh?
Yeah, we're doing like a live broadcast. Nice. Essentially.
That's cool.
There might be like a little bit of a delay. It might not be exactly real time.
You'd be able to just take someone's match that they're playing on their console and broadcast that with, like.
Well, if they're playing on the console, that match is already being, all their inputs and everything like that is already being taken and processed in a server. And that's how the whole online stuff works anyway. So,
but you're able to take that input and broadcast that?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Just as an example on that, if I was just having a match with Strider and we weren't broadcasting or anything, but it was online, would you have the ability just to take that specific match and broadcast it if you wanted?
I think, yeah.
Like, could you do that for any online match then?
We'd have to do it beforehand. We'd have to set up, and I think we'd have to basically
have it just set to record beforehand. Kind of thing.
Yeah. Basically,
Cool.
I'm not sure if we could like retroactively go back and because that might be cool to find like if someone if someone actually does,
match, right?
Yeah, if someone does win, a title match, and you could somehow go back and see their journey and almost recreate matches that they've had. But that might be a lot of work to do.
I just have to say, if that gets to a point where that's a thing, because I wasn't thinking about this. I don't know devs of games. I didn't understand how they would be able to do this, so I was really lost on like how they're able to broadcast just any match that any two players are playing. But then I look at Street Fighter 6, and you can look and literally go through histories of different fights and play them. So if they were able to implement this, where you could go and say you were winning ranked matches on your way to getting to that Ultra Pro Wrestling title match on a Monday Blast, if they were able to get like some of the highlights of like how you won some really close matches and play those during the broadcast, showing how you got there, that would be super, super, super cool if they were able to get to that at some point. I think that would be amazing. But I'll let the question and answer finish here.
That.
But I didn't know you could do this. I've never heard of this.
There might be easier ways to do it once we test this stuff, and if it turns out that it's very process and heavy, then we might have to try and think of other ways of doing it, which might involve
special guest referee. To me, that's you play for whomever that can stream it, and then you can stream it that way, and you just play as an unbiased ref, and for all title matches. That's how I thought you were going to do it. So this is news to me.
In some, sorry, go ahead.
That's essentially a similar way that it works. You're basically you're observing the match through a third party, but that person who's observing that match is basically it's almost the same process of just the inputs from the players are being processed and then being broadcast to that other person. But you don't really need that special guest referee to be there. You don't really need an extra account, an extra character. You just have another.
I just had no idea that worked that way. Like there was an on server and you could set that up. I just assumed you would have to be present in the match so that we could watch your stream. As you know what I mean? As like I just assumed.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Obviously, we don't have that built out or anything just yet. Our online stuff that we have is quite bare bones just now. So there's a lot that we need to test and make sure that what we're doing is performance-wise the best way of doing it. But yeah, no, I don't think it's an issue. I don't think there's any issues with taking a match that two people out in the world are playing against each other and taking that information and basically recreating a match, whether we have to be in there as a referee or a third-party account or anything like that, and then broadcasting that match, and then commentating on it and creating a show around it and all that stuff as well.
So that was it right there. But yeah, if you want to check out our entire interview with Sam right there, I will again, once the link will be in the pinned comment down below for you guys. But if you've made it this far, I want to thank all of you for watching. I love you all. I put a lot of time and effort into making this for you guys. So a like and subscribe would be greatly appreciated. And let me know down below, in the comments down below, what is it that you're most excited for about Ultra Pro Wrestling? Or if you have any questions that weren't answered here or in the last video, the first 100 questions, let me know down below. I probably have an answer for you. If there's an answer out there for the question, I probably have it because I've been following this game from day one and am super, super excited about it and for it. But dubious ones, I appreciate you all so very, very much for watching, and I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will catch you all in the next one. Deuces.
Make way for Mr.